former military head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, has expressed concerns over Nigeria's worsening economic situation, calling on the federal government to take immediate action. Receiving the leadership of the Campaign for Democracy and Human Rights in Minna, General Abubakar noted that the hardship is getting out of control, with many struggling to afford basic necessities. He advocated for a collaborative effort between federal, state and local government to alleviate the economic hardship. He suggested that the government should flood communities with food and sell it at lower prices. On the proposed EndBadGovernance protest, General Abubakar emphasized the need for peaceful demonstrations, warning against violence and looting. Let's discuss this latest submission and how Nigeria can get out of this economic situation. We're joined now by economic analyst Femi Oladehin. Femi, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure being here with you.
I'll just go straight to his submission about, flooding communities with food and selling at a lower price. How viable is this from an economic point of view? Will it help or exacerbate the problem?
I mean, again, so the fact that General Abdulsalami is coming out to say this just exactly tells you how our leaders have run this country prior to now. Because we focus on short-term solutions and destroy the fabric of the economy, destroy the fabric of the country, without focusing on long-term solutions, which is what we should be focusing on an ongoing basis. The reality is that, look, yes, we know we're going through a difficult economic environment. Food prices have been rising, at least for the past 12 to 18 months, at unprecedented levels. We know that inflation itself has been trending much higher to levels we haven't seen in 30 years. But the reality is that, look, Nigeria didn't just wake up one morning and find ourselves here. The journey to this position or to this point started years ago when farmers couldn't go to their farms and the former president, Buhari, played politics with everything from the farmer header crisis to the realization that we were having bandits literally running through our entire farmland. And that's how we got here. We didn't get here because, in 12 months, suddenly things got worse. And that's where the problem is. We need to start to look at how did we get here? What are the long-term solutions that we need to put in place to ensure that in another 12 months, we're not back in the same cycle? So by saying that the government should go and find food and sell it at cheaper prices doesn't solve the problem. It's just a palliative. And if you understand the Nigerian economy and the way the Nigerian system works, what just happens is that middlemen are enriched when you bring in all this sort of knee-jerk, sensational policies. Middlemen hijack this process, and the common man who you are trying to work for never benefits from it. I think what we should be talking about are long-term strategic solutions that can put Nigeria on food sustainability, economic growth, and of course, expansion at the end of the day. That's the conversation
I think where we are at now is at a combustive stage where people are, feeling the chokehold of economic strain on their lives, their children's life, and all of that. So any suggestion that comes up, that's why we put it to you to see what happens. But then again, we agree that this is not the genesis of the problem, not this administration. It's a long-term thing. But he did advocate for a collaborative effort between all parties, the federal, the state, and local governments to help alleviate the economic hardship. One wonders, has there been no collaboration so far? And what would one that would work look like?
So look, I think that the biggest problem we have when it comes to collaboration between the federal, state, and local government has always been a constitutional problem. With due respect, General Abdulsalami lumbered us with the current 1999 constitution. And that is what has created the biggest problem, where the levels of accountability that we should be able to demand from the different arms of government are not enshrined in our constitution. So state governors can literally steal resources of the state without any consequence. Local governments have been running in the pockets of state governors for the past 24, 25 years. So the reality is that for us to sustainably feed a nation that is growing, whose population is effectively doubling every 20 years, it means that we need to move away from the agrarian and the small scale solutions that we've always looked at. What we need right now is massive, large-scale industrial farming that is able to shorten the planting to harvest season, that is able to maximize the rainy season that we have, maximize the dry season farming, and all of those things need to be done. But you see, the government needs to be able to do this at the same time by ensuring that the security situation as well that we found ourselves in allows the farmers to be able to go to those farms and for them to be able to farm without risks to their lives and their families. And that's where the bigger issue is. And I think that what we should be talking about now are structural changes to the way the country is being run. The federal government has tried everything that it possibly can, from bringing in cheaper food, removing duties on food, and trying to encourage agriculture through different schemes. But you see, it's really not the job of the federal government to actually plant and ensure that the agri sector works. It's actually about creating an enabling environment that allows the private sector to go in, maximize the land space that we have in Nigeria, and of course to be able to do this profitably and do it safely as well. So we're challenging the state governors and the local government chairman to actually complement whatever efforts that the federal government has put in place. Unless that happens, we're literally going to be back here in 12 months. I can give you guarantees on that.
On the proposed governance protest, not the proposed that's already happened, Abubakar emphasized, okay, there is another proposed one for October 1. We're hoping that doesn't happen, but you never can tell. The general emphasized the need for peaceful demonstrations and warned against violence and looting. But it is curious, isn't it, that he made no mention of those currently facing charges in court for merely protesting.
Yeah, and I think that's again, honestly, look, our leaders know how to play politics. The reality is that there are still people in prisons in Nigeria who protested during the EndSARS protest in 2020. So to say that people should protest peacefully. Some of those people who were arrested were protesting peacefully. It's not like they were championing violence or driving a violent reaction. The reality is that the overhandedness of the security forces was one of the biggest contributors to violence across the country. The Nigerian constitution actually guarantees the right to peaceful protests to every Nigerian. Now, the problem is that Nigeria as a country and as a people, we are so poorly policed that when peaceful protests start, the tendency for them to get violent is because we do not have the sufficient manpower in terms of police to be able to protect those who are willing to protest peacefully. And of course, the government then goes creative by coming up with some of the funny legal challenges that we had to the EndBad protests that we had earlier on in the year. And those are challenges that from a nation building point of view, we have to be able to fix. Nigeria is not going to be fixed by changing the national anthem. We're going to be fixed by getting Nigerians to believe
I saw what you did there. I saw what you did there. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.